Would you take the Wolverine peptide? Lately, I was digging through science papers when I noticed something strange. Social media has been obsessed with an injectable stomach peptide that allegedly supercharges healing. People claim it repairs tendons, ligaments, and muscles at lightning speed. And 503A compounding pharmacies reportedly filled hundreds of thousands of prescriptions. Meanwhile, social media views have exploded into the millions. But before you buy another black market peptide from the dark web, we need to ask one important question. What was this regenerative molecule doing in human stomach juice? Back in the 1990s, scientists discovered a compound in gastric juice that protects the stomach lining. Think of your stomach wall like a castle under siege by acid and bacteria. This compound was like the castle's repair crew, patching holes before the next wave hit. They isolated part of it and called it Body Protection Compound 157, or BPC-157, and they started injecting it into mice to see what happened. These mice were basically sent to a North Vietnamese prison. Broken bones, crushed tendons, concussions. One group was literally set on fire just to see if it would heal faster. In these photos, after being lit on fire, one mouse received the compound and one didn't. After 28 days, the BBC mouse had healed better. In this image, scientists made a hole in 2 lab mice. After 28 days, only the mouse on BPC-157 was completely healed. Basically, these lab mice have no problem shrugging off the haters. Mechanistically, BPC-157 seems to work by reducing inflammation, boosting cell proliferation, and increasing angiogenesis, meaning new blood vessels form faster. We normally like to get beaten down with science data, but in this case, we don't have any great human studies. Without quantitative data in humans, we are mostly stuck with qualitative data. In one biohacking survey, BPC-157 ranked as one of the most life-changing compounds, which generally agrees with all the reports on social media. But without the ability to be patented, there's no financial reason to fund real human trials. So it's stuck in scientific purgatory. Another promising molecule that might work, but no one's paying to find out. But for those who are willing to make themselves a model organism, is it even safe? Because of the lack of human data, peptide sellers have an uneasy relationship with the government. Government pressure has resulted in many peptide dealers going out of business, resulting in no one being able to buy peptides. Just kidding, peptides are more available than ever, and users are flexing their stash on social media. The only thing the government has succeeded at is making a black market for peptides with worse quality control. And some people have even resorted to flying to other countries to get injected by a witch, which is not something I would recommend. Most of our experimental peptides are produced by underpaid chemists overseas. I'm not saying you shouldn't order from China, but that wasn't chicken you just ate. Anything you ingest should have a certificate of analysis from a developed country to ensure that it is pure and free of contaminants, unlike the Four Loko you drink in college. Toxicology studies in mice, rats, rabbits, and dogs show no serious short-term toxicity, and there's no known LD50. Even massive overdoses didn't kill the animals. And because peptides are just chains of amino acids, they break down into amino acids where they can be used by the body for other things. The main concern is what happens in the future. Increasing cell division and angiogenesis might be great for wound healing, but it's not something you want cancer cells doing. If you have cancer, hypothetically, this might increase its growth, but because we have so little human data, we don't actually know. But if I had a tumor, I probably wouldn't take it. The other concern is with mood. BPC-157 affects multiple targets. Preliminary evidence suggests that it affects dopamine and serotonin, and some anecdotal reports on social media report anxiety and anhedonia, which is why people taking psychotropic medicine should be cautious. For those who do take it, they generally follow the dose recommendations on Pep-pedia.org, a site that even comes with a dose calculator and instructions on how to do an injection. Anecdotally, people who have gastrointestinal issues have experimented with the oral version. Well, people with injuries tend to do an injection near the injury site or in their belly. So, should you take this? Here's the thing. Despite all the mouse data, we don't really know if BPC-157 is safe and effective in humans. That's probably why it's banned by major sports agencies. It might heal heavily tortured mice, but we have to be wary of making claims without proper trials. There are 2 types of biohackers. One wants double-blind RCTs before touching anything. The other injects unregulated compounds they found on Reddit and says YOLO. Your decision depends on risk tolerance. For example, I'm waiting for more data to find out whether or not I could jump out of a plane without a parachute. But if I ever accidentally fall out of an airplane, I might suddenly find myself more interested in an N=1 trial. That's why I don't blame people who get paid for lifting heavy things up and down for wanting to try this out. If the only thing between homelessness and putting food on your children is a torn rotator cuff, there's going to be a lot of pressure to inject unpatentable peptides without a lot of human data. On the other hand, if you're a retired elderly person who suffers mild pain while walking, your risk tolerance might be different. What I'm trying to tell you is that you should be aware of theoretical side effects, and you should always talk to your doctor before taking anything you hear about on social media. What do you think? Did I get it right? Peer review me in the comments. And like and subscribe if you've ever considered becoming your own clinical trial.